What up? It's Captain Kardi Gras, Mr. Kardinal Offishall, and right about now, you already know what it is. You are tuned in to the A&R report, okay? Live and in full effect. The name Kardi Gras Volume 1 started on social media one day. I was on there bantering back and forth with my good friend Dr. J the Soca Prince. And as usual, he was halfway trying to disrespect when he came up, obviously by accident because he's not that bright. He came up with the whole Kardi Gras thing, and I was like, yeah, funny. Then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that sound kind of wicked still, you know what I mean? And we were talking about it just in terms of an actual party, you know what I mean? In terms of starting an actual party series called Kardi Gras, and I think it just grew from there into the name for the album because I think it's perfect, you know what I'm saying? Like, my life is like a Kardi Gras, but I think we put in the clash in there though because my life has tended to be a clash of many things, a clash of morals, values, ideals, priorities, success, failures, all of those different types of things. Commerce versus art. There's so many different clashes that exist within my life, you know what I'm saying? Being able to, the clash between involving family and just business people within your life, the clash between your nucleus, your family at home, and your family of musicians at large. There's so many clashes that go on in life. So that's where that came from, and it's volume 1 because there's going to be it's going to be a 3-volume series. It's been interesting my whole career because people get so anchored into their favorite songs that the body of work can sometimes go unnoticed. So if you know anything about a Kardinal album, and I mean, over the years there's hundreds of thousands that have bought them, but millions and millions that have bought the single. So I think if you know anything about a Kardinal album, you'll know that this album is going to be a main launch of different things, but it may be my last album that I do like that. So that's why you'll have on an album, like from the first day, the first time that I ever came out, you'll have a song like Powerful on the same album that Money Jane will be on. You'll have a song like I'm going back to Firestarter Volume 1, a song like G Walking with Glenn Lewis, and then a song, Man by Choice. Like, I've always been a person that felt that my music should be a true reflection of who I am as a person, and that I have to be brave enough to include everything. So if there's political things, socio-political issues that I want to deal with, I have to be brave enough to deal with those, but at the same time not neglect the fact that I like to have fun and enjoy life at the same time. And I think I want for my albums to be something that the listener and consumer can relate to, because all of us have several different things that we experience, 7 different feelings, vibes, experiences, and I always want that my albums to be a reflection of that, and maybe one album in particular will go with one part of your life. Oh man, I had every barrier under the sun. We had nothing but hurdles, and it's very interesting because I think at the end of the day, that's what we did this for. But I think like there are so many things. Like, first of all, a big one is there was no internet. Huge one, you know what I'm saying? That was a very big, at the time we didn't see it as a hurdle because we didn't know any better. We didn't have anything else. That's just what we knew. So one of the biggest obstacles that we had was being able to get our music out internationally. So we ended up sending it out to, and when I say we, I mean because we started as a unit, because we believed there was strength in numbers, and to be honest, we couldn't afford to initially do things on our own. So that's why you might have on one side of a single would be Kardinal, the B side is Solitaire, is because Man and Man didn't have enough money to even press up their own single by themselves. So we just pool our money together. We used to send, Socrates records out to Japan and London. Same with Shaw Clear to America. Same with me. And then we also used to, when we had the opportunity, we started traveling. So it wasn't just about double clicking and sending your things to wherever. We literally had to go to the place, and we met all these people. That's how from the 90s I met people like Sway. People know Sway obviously from Sway in the Morning, and him being on MTV and all the rest of that. But I know Sway from the Sway and King Tech show, when myself, Socrates, and Shaw Claire used to go to the West Coast, and we used to have to stand in a room with 20 MCs and wait our turn, and then just totally obliterate all of them, and show people live and in person why they should respect MCs from Canada. Like, I know there's a lot of Toronto stuff right now, but they weren't even interested in the city. They were at the time still shocked at the whole country, never mind the city. But that's how I met them. Stretch and Bobbito, they have a movie that they just put out, and I remember in the 90s going to the Stretch and Bobbito show way back in the days, and just having to prove ourselves live and in person. Nowadays you can get on without having to prove yourself. I think the days of actually having to prove yourself and make people know that you're actually a bona fide artist are kind of dead. If you have a catchy song, you might even have talent, but the thing is, you can get on relatively quickly. The days of when we were younger and we had to get on, there were gatekeepers literally standing there with a Naughty by Nature bat. Like, they weren't letting in anybody. So we had to travel a lot of places. We had to go through a lot of crazy stuff in order for us to be respected around the world. Whether it was America, whether it was going over to the UK, all these different things. I remember when the Hustlin' EP came out, because we were cool with Stretch and Bobbito had a tour that was going on in Europe, and somebody dropped out, and he hit up Mr. Morgan. Morgan was like, yo, we have an opportunity to go to Europe. It's not really any bread, but you can go over there and be on tour with the Roots, with Dilated Peoples, and a bunch of underground MCs. And we went over there, and Bobbito, he was cool with me, and so forth, and he knew that I could spit. But I remember the first day, because we were the Canadians, they put us on first act, and the first act was a show in I think it was in Copenhagen, the Roskilde Festival. And I remember we went on, and there was 10,000 people, and we destroyed the place. By the end of the show, we had everybody take their shirts off, throwing it around like it was total madness. So that first show, we were the first on, and by the second show, we were the third last. It was us, then Dilated, then the Roots. So it was those kind of dues that we had to pay, live and in the flesh back in them days, to show people, what we had in Toronto. And I think what's cool is, before I got my first major label deal, which was with MCA Records in America, I was number one on all the college charts. So I guess now where, you kind of have to, people go to the blogs and see how you're doing on, whatever blogs are popping right now. Back then, the equivalent was all the college magazines and the college shows. That's where you used to go, and they used to see all the new talent before they graduated to the next level. So I remember, with my Hustling EP, it was number one across all of America, and my father passed away, and sadly but ironically, right after that, when we buried him, is when they called me up to give me my deal. I don't think I'm really in a position to speak about what's authentic to kids in Toronto right now. The reason is because it's like every I don't want to say generation. We use that term way too loosely, because a few years in between doesn't constitute a generation to me. But there are certain movements of kids coming up, and they don't know anything except for what's presented to them right now. So I think in terms of of what's authentic is what they know Toronto to be. I think, me personally, being authentic is being yourself. So we still have a lot of first and second generation Canadians here who very much grow up. It used to be the Caribbean used to be like the West Indian culture used to be the prevalent kind of subculture underneath regular like Canadian ways of life. But I think now you have an influx of African people that came here. You know, it's a little bit more diverse, I think, in 2015, and a lot more artists. I'd like to see our city produce a lot more artists, like how we were able to produce people like Kanon and stuff like that. People that really kind of dug into their culture. I think that's what originally separated us from the rest of the world, is that we were people that were taught to embrace our culture and bring it to the rest of the world. That's why, you know, when you came up, you know, you had, you know, in terms of underground MCs, think about people like Frankenstein, who was a straight Italian guy from Woodbridge. You know what I'm saying? You had people like myself. And even going back, it's funny, people look at me now and say, you know, yeah, Toronto, you put Toronto on the map. You did this, you did that. But it's like, before me, I couldn't have been anywhere if there wasn't the people like Self Defense, people like Maestro, people like Mishi, Dream Warriors, people like, you know, Thrust, people like Rumble and Strong. So many cats that people are kind of unaware of. And I think that's the one thing that I think we should do better, is embrace our legacy and not get caught up in America's legacy right now. And even with Drake, I think earlier out, his where he came from was kind of ambiguous in the beginning, because when we used to be in America, people didn't really know early out that he was Canadian. Like, if you dug deep enough, you would know. But I love the way that, you know, he came around within his career and he's really embracing the Toronto legacy. And I think what's cool is that now, with him being the biggest artist in the world, literally, you have people that are now interested in the city. So I think where people like myself and others that know, I think what we got to do is school people to what our legacy is. Because there's a difference in making a city pop, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we saw, you know, Outkast made Atlanta famous way back, but then it took MCs of today, you know what I'm saying, the last 5 years to really, really make Atlanta go over the top. Same thing happened in the West Coast. Obviously, there was, you know, the West Coast OGs, but then you have, you know, the Kendricks of the day and the whole TDE movement. I think it's the same here, to where we have to embrace our legacy, you know what I'm saying, and let people know what we went through, you know what I'm saying, the ghetto concepts that went before me, so many other people that made Toronto what it is. And the thing is that we have a very, 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 very hardcore, a very rich legacy, and, you know, pardon the French, like, shit wasn't easy and it wasn't sweet in Toronto. There's a lot of things that groomed us, and a lot of things that we had to go through in order, you know what I'm saying, for Toronto to be the way that it is right now. And, you know, a lot of unfortunate real things we had to go through, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people getting shot in the clubs, a lot of violence, a lot of racism, a lot of crazy things that happened within the city that kind of produced us, you know what I'm saying. It didn't just happen that one day all of a sudden Toronto was just full up of rappers and producers. There was a lot that went into the city that led up to where we are now, and it's great because we're in a place where we can, you know what I mean, we can all celebrate. And I think the same way that Houston does with their OGs, to where you have the Bun Bs, you have the Slim Thugs, and all the rest of those people, you know what I'm saying, that hold it down from the OG section all the way down to the youths. I think that's the same thing that we got to do here, is really embrace all of the OGs. And that's why, you know, even when people take their hats off and salute me, I make it known every time that, you know, it definitely did not start with me at all. You know what I'm saying? There was a whole host of people, you know, big up K-Force, 10K. We could just keep going on, but, you know, New Black Nation with Motion and Tando, there was so many people that really rocked and rocked heavy before I even got on. I want to, it's funny right now. I'm learning the difference between like humility and not really the difference between, but kind of learning to know my worth and know my value. I think it's funny. My lawyer Theo Settlemeyer, now he's a lawyer for a bag of people like M Drake, me, just Ross, all kinds of people, drama. But I've been with Theo since '98, and I remember Theo's like, "Yo, Kardi, like, you have an immense talent for finding talent." You know what I'm saying? Like, you brought so many people to me and told me about a lot of people before they blew up. I think even in the case of Wonder, I wouldn't say that like I put on Wonder. I'd say what I wanted to do and what I do with people is what I would want or would have wanted for somebody to do to me. Because I come from a school of where a lot of the OGs before me would mentor me. You know what I'm saying? And they would sit me down and show me really what's good. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I always wanted to do with people from this city. That's what I always wanted to do. I did that with Drake. I did that with Wonder. I did that with a host of people. Is really just try and be as real as possible. You know what I'm saying? And just let cats know what we went through. And opinions are like assholes, but try and give people just some advice to say, yo, this is what we did, but that doesn't mean that's going to be your story. Your story is your story, and your road to success is going to be your road to success. On this album, there's a variety of people. There's a young kid by the name of Alan Raymond. Super unique voice. Alan Raymond is actually from my old neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? He's from that Oakland and Vaughn section. Chase On is on the album. Chase On is from the East Coast. You know what I mean? He's from Halifax, from Scotia. We got Myrna, formerly known as Aya, who's on the opening joint on the album, a song called Hope that's produced by Stefan Macchiao. People know Stefan because he scored the Winter Olympics. He, produced some of Celine Dion's biggest hits. Also, they know about him with his recent work with The Weeknd and Miley Cyrus and all that. He did a joint, the opening song for the album. It features the Toronto Symphonic Orchestra. I think it's an 80-piece orchestra that they put together. So there's that. You know what? I should have had it with me right in my pocket so I don't miss out on anybody. I have Kes the Band on there, you know what I mean? Kes the Band live from Trinidad. And Quinn Marie, formerly Quinn Maybach, is on that joint called It's Always Carnival Time. That is my Afro soca kind of joint that I produced. Who else is on the album, man? Jordan's on the album, again from the East Coast. He's on the song Sunshine, that's produced by Grammy Award winning Super Dupes. He's produced for Bruno Mars, myself, Sean Paul, Eminem, John Legend, Estelle, Drake, etc., etc., etc. It's one of my good friends from the Black Chinese Sound. Jordan's on that song. May Marquardt from she's from Scarborough. I think she's 19 now. Young R&B singer. That's my little sis. She's on the album too. And yeah, I mean, besides that, there's a lot of, I co-produced the album. I mean, I produced, I think, more than half of the album, and helping me out every once in a while. Glenn Lewis is on the album. Can't forget Glenn. That's my ace right there. Anybody that I missed, that I love you. That more time. I'm just tired, yo. I just been going, but yeah, there's a lot of new people. There's new producers too, you know what I mean? Big up man like Superville, who produced the joint with Junior Reid. Oh yeah, how could I forget? 1/3 of the Suta Black, my good brethren Assassin, is on the album on a joint called OG. Also, being executive creative director is a very new thing for me, but I think it was a necessary thing as an OG in the game, is to be able to diversify the brand. I think just as somebody that's been very hands-on with my business over the years, it allows me to see the other side of the Iron Curtain and understand further how the business actually works. And I think because Universal right now is becoming a global company in the truest sense, it's not just to where we're limited to our borders. I've traveled and broken bread with my counterparts in Europe, in America and so forth. And I think what's really dope is to have an understanding of how the mainstream business works anyway. This is a great job for me. I serve as an ambassador for the company. I serve as an A&R, but I also serve as a guide, a mentor for the artists that we're signing now. And just through all the different networking capabilities that I have, it's a multifaceted and sometimes coming out of left field type of a job, but I think something that is allowing me to grow. And when I first started there, I was nervous as shit because as an artist, you don't really, I think, know what's going to be on that other side when you go to the executive side. You think that you have an idea, but then when you start to see things broken down before your eyes, it can be very daunting. It can be an intimidating situation to be a part of, but I think that's where some of the challenges turn out to be real blessings, because it just makes you way more intelligent. And I think a lot of the opinions that we form as artists are just based on random artist rhetoric. The funny thing is that most of what we believe is true. It's just that now that I'm on the other side, I know why things are the way that they are, or at least have a better idea.